Hey everyone, Alex Hutchie fans coming at you guys with another video. Today I wanted to give my thoughts on Ultra Galaxy Fight, the absolute conspiracy, or as the narrator at the end of the trailer would say, Ultra Galaxy Fight, the absolute conspiracy. For me personally, I am really looking forward to this miniseries that is coming out in winter 2020, because for me personally, in my opinion at least, New Generation Climax was very disappointing, one of my least favorite Ultraman movies in quite some time, and Ultraman Z hasn't exactly been extremely stellar in my opinion, to say the least, to put it in a very short manner. But this new miniseries, Ultra Galaxy Fight, The Absolute Conspiracy, is something I am looking forward to. It's pretty interesting too, because on the Ultraman Day stream that happened a while ago, Jeff Gomez, who was one of the guest speakers on this Ultraman Day stream, say that this new miniseries was going to be groundbreaking. It was going to shatter the lore, and it was going to ultimately change how people would not only view the Ultraman franchise, but also the larger overarching narrative that has been going on for several decades. I know a lot of Ultraman fans are excited because they get to see some of their favorite characters return, such as Ultraman Great, Ultraman Powered, Ultraman Neos, and Ultra 721 are also appearing. Ultraman Mebius, Ultraman Max, and Ultraman 80 and Yulian are actually appearing in this, which is quite interesting because this year is the anniversary for Ultraman 80, and to be quite frank, Super 8 Productions hasn't really done anything with Ultraman 80. I don't think there was a confirmation for a Blu-ray release for Ultraman 80. I could be wrong about that because I don't follow the Blu-rays too much unless someone were to tell me about them. Ultraman 80 did not appear in New Generation Climax as some people were hoping for, so that may have already lowered their opinions of that movie. Ultraman 80 isn't even a fusion in Ultraman Z, so that's pretty interesting in my opinion, that Ultraman 80 has ultimately not gotten much for his anniversary. But to be quite frank, a lot of Ultras unfortunately haven't gotten much for their anniversary. But to see Ultraman 80 appear in this miniseries at the very end of the year in winter 2020 shows that Super 8 Productions is going to actually celebrate his anniversary, which I'm sure pleases many people. On top of that, we have the debut of such characters such as Sora, who I believe is never been in any other series or movie outside of the stage shows. So that's pretty intriguing, I believe. It's pretty interesting because a lot of people have theorized that Sora is going to be Ultraman Zero's mother, but I highly doubt it. And on top of that, when I look at this miniseries, it feels very cluttered in a way. There are just so many powerful villains. It's something that I've noticed is that when you have the Ultraman series and the movies, you have these really powerful antagonists such as Rugosite and Judah and Talgar and Dark Lugiel, and they have so much development and backstory and power that cements them as these truly significant threats to our heroes, only for them to be put in a mini-series where they are literally cannon fodder for the Ultras to go through in an episode or two. It's very interesting, in my opinion, how they shift from this really relevant character to a sudden character that gets beat up for the sake of a short and quick spectacle. But either way, though, I feel that there are just so many villains in this whole series. You have characters such as Rugosite. Rugosite is actually reappearing. Rugosite was the main villain, or at least the last villain, in Ultraman Rube, and Ultraman Rube wasn't really a series that I liked too much. I believe it was one of my least favorite New Generation series, but what I thought about Rugosite, I don't really know. I was kind of indifferent about Rugosite. He just existed for me. Alien Emperor is actually returning, and so is Tregia. Now, what I believe, and also on top of this, you also have Judah Spectre and Guar Spectre, as well as a whole bunch of Zetons, including Zet or Z. The character Z is usually in stage shows, and it's very intriguing to see Z. I'm sorry, I said Zet because Zet also appears in this mini-series, and he does fight Hyper Zeton. But regardless, though, it feels as if there are just a lot of different villains in this, and I thought the first Ultra Galaxy fight had a lot of villains. This has a lot of villains, too. It's pretty interesting because Alien Emperor is going to appear, and what I theorize they're going to do for this series is that since it talks about legacy and remembering the past, I think that some of this is going to take place as a flashback, which is going to expand more. Because for me at least, when I look at Alien Emperor, it looks as if he's attacking the Land of Light. If you slow down the scene and look very closely, it may just be me, but it looks as if Alien Emperor is attacking the Land of Light. So that may be a flashback. Either way, though, I'm looking forward to this. And on top of all of these villains that are returning, we also have a brand new villain in the form of the character that part of this series is named after, Absolute Tartarus. So, Absolute Tartarus is pretty interesting. He reminds me of Ultraman Rube from Ultraman Rube, the fusion at least. And he also reminds me of Silver Gokai from Gokaiger. That's who he reminds me of in terms of his design. Some people have also said they were reminded of Juggler, but for me at least, I don't see that too much. I'm really looking forward to Absolute Tartarus, but it may not be for the reasons that are actually official. So at least, as people know of right now, Absolute Tartarus is an alien character that challenges a lot of the Ultraman characters, and I view him in a similar sense to, say, someone such as a Telgar, this really armored, powerful warrior that just takes on a lot of Ultras head on, and who really remains pretty mysterious until they actually get a lot more exposition and development over time. But for me at least, what I had initially hoped when I saw Absolute Tartarus, these were my initial thoughts when I saw the trailer. I thought that Absolute Tartarus would be the shining cow, the golden cow of Ultra Galaxy Fight, the Absolute Conspiracy. And why do I say that? Well, because for me at least, Ultraman is very simple. The way how it structures a lot of its plots and villains, it's a very clean cut and simple manner, which is understandable, of course, because Ultraman is generally geared more towards a younger audience. And of course, that younger audience could appeal to me, but it's simplified in a way. And for me at least, for my basic understanding at that time, I really wanted Absolute Tartarus to be a light ultra. Now, you may be questioning yourself, why would Absolute Tartarus be a light ultra? And you may think to yourself that light ultras are always good and that they represent purity and good ethic. But for me at least, there hasn't necessarily been a villain in Ultraman that's light, at least that I can think of and recall of. A lot of the primary villains in Ultraman have typically been characters that use darkness or former characters of light that turn to darkness. For example, Evil Tico was one of the earliest instances of this. Evil Tico was originally an Ultra of Light, who became an Ultra of Darkness due to the negative intentions of Kaiko Mizaki. Ultraman Bellio, surprisingly, is a character that also reflects this ideology by Bellio himself being a light ultra, but here we have the very first form of Ultraman Bellio in this miniseries, which is him when he was a light ultra, which I also presume will appear in a flashback potentially. But with the case of Absolute Tartarus, I really hope, and I doubt they'll do this because Super 8 Productions won't want to step out of that comfort zone of having light and dark represent good and evil, but I would really have liked to have seen a light ultra be the villain because of what if created a moral dilemma and an area of gray. Something that I've wanted to see in Ultraman for a long time is a little bit of a questioning of the ethic and the moral code, a little bit of a deconstruction, if you will. One instance that comes to my mind is when a lot of superheroes turn into anti-heroes in comic books or movies, and they actually question their values and their actions. Ultraman hasn't really had any moments like this, I would say. They haven't had a moment where they have to really question themselves all too much. There's never been a character that's come up to Ultraman King and said, "Why are you the king?" Or, "Why do we have to fight monsters and aliens?" Another question that I've always had for Ultraman is, why do Ultraman characters specifically have to defend Earth? There are millions, well, not really, there are millions of other characters that are aliens. For example, alien Boltons or alien magmas. There are just so many alien characters and species that you can name off in Ultraman, a whole laundry list of them. And yet Ultraman as a character and as a species always go out of their way to specifically defend humans. Which is something I personally find interesting, because if you compare human beings to a lot of aliens in Ultraman, human beings are really weak. Human beings can't turn giant in the flick of a wrist. They can't turn giant at all. They have to use technology to fight their battles. They don't have naturally used weapons. They don't have projectile abilities. They have to use guns and ships and robots and cars in order to transport themselves. Human beings can't fly. They can't turn giant. They can't fire projectiles. What makes human beings so special to Ultraman, I guess? And that's why I really wanted to see a villain in Ultraman that would deconstruct that aspect and really question a lot of the nuances that haven't really been tackled in the franchise. But as it looks to be, currently, Absolute Tartarus is probably just going to be another alien throwaway character, just like a Telgar, who will have his debut as a really powerful threat, and then appear at least 2 or 3 years later as cannon fodder for the next villain that will show up. Just like Judas Spectre, just like a Telgar, just like Dark Lugiel. These characters that are really powerful, and then they'll be pushed away and used as minions and cannon fodder for the next big villain, and so the cycle will perpetually repeat itself, creating no sense of solvency. But those are my thoughts on Ultra Galaxy Fight: The Absolute Conspiracy. I really hope it ends up being a lot more than what it is on the surface level, and it looks to be that might be the case, at least, because I'm going to take Jeb Gomez's words for it. This is going to be an absolutely mind-blowing miniseries, and that's why I do have my hopes up surprisingly pretty high for this miniseries, because I know with the current technology that Super Eye Productions has access to, with all the characters and the establishment and the support, I know that there will be a point where Ultraman will reach peak level thought. And that may start with Ultra Galaxy Fight: The Absolute Conspiracy. Anyway, what do you guys think about Ultra Galaxy Fight: The Absolute Conspiracy Theory? I'm pretty tired. Ultra Galaxy Fight: The Absolute Conspiracy Theory. Ultra Galaxy Fight: The Absolute Conspiracy. I accidentally said conspiracy theory. Uh-oh. Anyway, stay tuned for more videos. I'll be seeing you guys next video. Bye.